Wild weather is currently hitting the North Island, and MetService has issued orange or heavy rain warnings for Hawke's Bay. Joining me now to talk about what these warnings mean for the region is John Law, a meteorologist with MetService. Thank you for joining me, John.
Kia ora, thanks very much for having me.
So, since Cyclone Gabrielle, a lot of people in Hawke's Bay get nervous when weather warnings are issued. What does a heavy rain warning mean exactly?
That's a really good point, and it has been a while since we've seen heavy rainfall. But this is really an indication that the rainfall we're expecting could cause things like slips and surface flooding. And the rainfall totals we're looking at are much lesser amounts than we saw during that Gabrielle event, but still worth keeping up to date with the forecast. We're looking at 150 to 200 millimeters of rainfall, mainly up about the ranges. But as you know, that's still enough to cause issues. So still something we'll be very much aware of. And also, it's a fairly prolonged feature. We're looking at this rain arriving as we head through the rest of today, but lasting through Wednesday and even through towards Thursday. So that prolonged nature is also something we're going to keep in a really close eye on.
Great. So, what should people do when they get an orange heavy rain warning?
Well, the best thing to do is to think about how that would like to impact you. To be prepared for things like keeping an eye on the weather, keeping up to date with the information from your local emergency management teams. It's really important to stay up to date with the people on the ground who've got that information and to know where you can find information about anything that you might need, such as evacuations or flood warnings and those kind of things. Obviously, the rain up in the hills has to go somewhere and run down, but it's important we're not trying to alarm or panic people. We just want people to be aware and to keep up to date with the forecast and to know that there is something on its way and what that means for you. It's not to the same scale, but it's still worth knowing about the information so you can plan and prepare, which is really what those warnings are about, is planning and preparing for what it means for you.
So, at the moment, do you know when the rain is expected to peak?
So as we head through the rest of today, we are going to find that rain gets heavier as we head through the rest of the afternoon. Now, the warnings we have for those southern parts of Hawke's Bay run right the way through to the first part of Thursday. So that wet weather is set to stay with us. For those areas north of about State Highway 5, we're looking at that warning expiring as we head through in towards tomorrow. But we are going to find more of that wet weather comes back. And for those northern areas, particularly for, say, Thursday and perhaps even in towards the first part of Friday, could be some wetter times for you as well. So it's really a case of looking like as we head through the rest of today, that rain getting heavier, but sticking with us even through into Thursday.
Yeah, so it sounds like southern Hawke's Bay, south of State Highway 5, is expected to be hit the hardest by this rain?
Definitely, as we head through today, the areas south of Hawke's Bay, or some areas of Hawke's Bay, are likely to find the heaviest amounts, 150 to 200 millimeters of rainfall. As I say, running up in towards the hills more than anything else, but feeding towards the rivers. So it's well worth being aware that could cause things like perhaps some slips and some surface flooding. And so, that may also lead to perhaps some power outages as well. But like I say, it's really a case of planning and being prepared for that wet weather to come and sit over us and sticking with us and giving a fairly wet looking Wednesday.
Absolutely. So the system currently going over the North Island has been described as a Tasman Sea special. What does that mean exactly?
So a way for us in the forecast room to know where these systems are coming in from. You can imagine that last week we saw all that cold air coming from the south, those southerly winds. This system coming in from the Tasman Sea, particularly those northern and western parts, is bringing down much milder temperatures. But with that warmth and that moisture in amongst it, it can really bring a lot of moisture as well. So you would have seen that although our temperatures have picked up, definitely not nearly as cold as it was last week. The downside of that warmer air is that extra bit of moisture and extra bit of rainfall coming across us as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for talking to us today, John. Our viewers, and if our viewers want to know more about the weather, where should they look?
So again, the best place to go really is the MetService website. It's going to keep you updated with all the latest forecasts, particularly updates on those severe weather watches and warnings. You can always find the latest information there and all the latest forecasts as well.
Thank you very much again, John.
Thanks very much, Jack.